So they coded some horses and put birds on.
Yeah.
We wanted to write an application where zebras were. Let me see if I can figure out how to change my view. There it goes. All right. It's hard when you get ancient and you can't see your own keyboard anywhere. Okay, so what we were trying to do, we actually sat around for a long time. My name is John Jorgensen. This is Ben Carlson. I'm from Rutgers University. Ben's from Villanova. And we have a great crew of people, I think. We sat around for quite a long time thinking of something interesting to do with the U.S. Code. And Susanna Lears thought of something to try and quantify relative importance of statutes was something that she thought would be kind of interesting to do. And we thought of how can we do that in quick and dirty ways that we can code in just a few hours. And one of the thoughts that somebody had, I think that was also Susanna, but it might have been Marcia, was to go through Table 3 of the U.S. Code. And Table 3 has all of the parsings of any statute at large and shows all the places in the U.S. Code where a particular statute of law at large got encoded. A simple small law will have 1, 2 entries, maybe even 0, actually quite often 0. A really important law is going to have perhaps thousands of entries in that table. We thought if we could parse through everything to make sense of that, that would be an interesting and quick application to write.
And also, I was going to show, it shows how many.
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to cover the whole thing.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we were covered.
So what we did, online, on uscode.house.gov, you can get all of the raw data. So there is the table of popular names, which we started with. And so this is a listing of all the popular names. One of the initial problems we had right off the bat, as you'll see there's a little slider in the corner. This is some very odd AJAX script. And when we tried to automate the downloading of the table so that we could then parse it on the fly, because it's an awfully large table, it kept on not working. And we realized that when we did an automated download, it was just downloading the AJAX code and not the actual data. So what we did is we just went into a browser and saved this page and then uploaded that to our server and parsed the download. The script then goes through and identifies and picks out useful data out of this table. So the popular name, the PL number, or the chapter number if it's an older law, the date of enactment. We parse out the years, so you can do easy searches by year range, and also the link. These hypertext links are the links to the table 3. And if you could click on one of these, Ben, that would be great. Thanks. And this is the table, so there's one entry in table 3. So what the program did is it's parsing through the popular name table, and then for each instance of finding a popular name, it's grabbing the link to the table 3, downloading table 3, and counting every entry, and making a database entry of the number of entries or table rows there are, just so we can get a rough and quick idea of the relative impact or importance of certain laws. So that's the background loader program, which actually ran for 20 minutes when we finally got it debugged. But it actually parsed and ran all the way through. At this point, we made a single interface that we're calling P.Law.T, a popular law timeline. At this point, I mean, there are all kinds of different input parameters we can have in here. Right now, just to get something done, we just put in year ranges. So you can put in a year range, and then click submit. And Ben, if you could just scroll down and show everybody. So these are the number of rows in table 3. So these are the number of places that this particular popular name statute got parsed or got stuck into the US code. And you'll see if we get all the way down to the bottom of this list, and it's going to be a big list because there are lots of entries in the popular name table, it will probably go down to 0. Does it, Ben?
Oh, yes, definitely. I'll just put that here while I'm copying it.
So you can see some of the small laws, you got 1 and even 0 entries if it didn't make it to codification, because not all laws do, of course. So that's what we've got, a quick and easy way to just see how big laws are. And of course, as we parse through, we're retaining the whole URL, so if you want to go directly from one of these entries to the table 3, oh, that one doesn't.
Well, it was a 0.
Okay.
Often when it's 0, there's no table 3.
Okay, yeah, so any of these should work.
That'll work.
Bam. So we got something working. One of the things we would like to do after this is we were looking at a website called Raw, which does easy and quick visualizations of data. And it's got an API that you can use, and then you can embed links to the Raw visualizer in it. And that's the next step with this, to give kind of a visual tool to see how things work. So we have an example here of some statutes.
Yeah.
And we'll just show you what we would like to do with this.
It's all right.
One of the things that we can do with it. Yeah, and if you put in too many laws, the visualization just becomes a big blob.
You did, I just said.
Dude.
I know. That was all me, my fault.
But in any case, this is a nice to do, not a need to do, for the purpose of the project we had in mind. There, and we'll be able to make stuff like that. But again, as group 3 said, there's APIs to read and master and get your heads around before you do that programming. And getting the idea at 11 o'clock, no, it was before 11, but we weren't going to read that. We were going to get something done. So we got the basic in-out system done. And it is loaded, and our system is publicly available now. So that's done.
Awesome.
What's the URL?
Oh, wait.
Actually, it's, what is it?
What was the question?
The
The
URL.
URL.
There we go. lawevents.rutgers.edu/restricted, just because I stuck it somewhere, pop names.
How long did the scrape take?
The scrape took,
20 or 30 minutes.
yeah, 20 or 30 minutes. Because it was going through that popular names table and downloading every single table 3
There's about
web page.
8,000 rows in the database right now, with each public law number as an individual row.
So good fun.
Is your database set up where if you wanted, you could put in a US code section and see how many different times that's been hit by one of these popular names acts?
No,
We could do,
we could, but it's not, the database as it is now, we didn't include that.
All right.
Because that would be going, we'd have to go into that extra table, and all we did, because of time, was count the rows, but that's where that lives, the code section, so we could have pulled that into an array or something.
yeah, if you wanted to do something more than just looking at the size of laws, What we did is we kept and retained and made available the link to the Table 3 entry. So you can look at this stuff by year right now, and we can put in a search. At this point, it's fairly trivial to put in a search box for the name or the PL number. And at that point, you'll still get the link to the Table 3 data, which has all of the US code sections already hot linked. So we didn't want to have to invent the wheel for stuff like that.
So you guys also, this example is just any time a public law has touched the code, but you could probably have also restricted it only to sections which are active or not repealed, right? The counts. So you could measure a law by how much is it currently affecting the code versus the whole, when it got put in, how many things did it actually edit?
Yeah, because at this point, the information, the data we had available that we could access and parse through was Table 3 from uscode.house.gov. We could possibly start downloading other things as well and making more cross-indexing, and that's something we can think about doing at some point. But this was, a discrete idea of something you could do with this data, and we just wanted to, it's hard to get something done in just a couple hours.
So I'm hearing we need a longer hackathon. So, okay, we're back.
Okay, that's what we got. Thank you.